Hello, and welcome to the Luis Scola episode of the Hoop Theory Podcast, aka episode 56. My name is Logan Wertman, and as usual, I'm joined by my vindicated co-host, Jacob Roth. Jacob, how does it feel to be on the Luis Scola episode?
Feels pretty good. I'm pumped for those that are living under several rocks, because it has to be more than just one. Damian Lillard got traded, and if you take a peep at the episode that we recorded like a week ago, 6-7 days ago. Anyway, the central episode was posted this morning. I brought up a certain mystery team in the East known as the Milwaukee Bucks to get Damian Lillard. And lo and behold, today that happened.
Yep, it absolutely did. Just a few hours ago, actually. Earlier this afternoon, I think. Or was it in the morning?
It was the afternoon for sure. I feel like
afternoon.
I hadn't thought about lunch yet. Or I'd thought about lunch and then realized, nah. I bet it was like 1:12 Central is when Woj dropped the bomb. Let's give this a gander.
It sounds like, I feel like 1 something is probably a pretty good guess.
1:12 is mine. Over or under that, you think?
I'd say, if anything, under. Before
that? Okay. How can I check the specific time on it? Mr. Wojnarowski.
It doesn't show you on Twitter?
I got to find it. I'm sure in the 1:22.
Well.
Oh, just kidding. That was him posting a graphic. The breaking tweet, 1:16.
1:16. Okay. So still on the over.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless though, looking at, I guess it's episode 56. This is another draft selection episode. Not a good 56 jersey number I could find anywhere in the annals of Basketball Reference. I think there was only 3 players all time and 5 total seasons.
Oh, so like really, really the bottom of the barrel scraping.
Yes, absolutely. I don't even remember there's one guy that has 3 of the seasons. And I don't even remember what that name was. But one of the names I remember was Sheldon Williams from Duke.
Oh, cool.
He wore it in 2012 on the Boston Celtics.
Wow.
So,
NFL, because I've started saying an NFL guy at 56.
Probably a lot of
Lawrence
linebackers,
Taylor.
right?
Lawrence Taylor. Of linebackers. Greatest linebacker, edge rusher of all time, probably. Lawrence Taylor.
Mm-hmm. What number is Levante David in the NFL?
54. Oh, no.
I was thinking either 54 or 55.
I might be mixing up because he wore 4 at Nebraska.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
He is 54. Okay.
Yeah, 54.
It is 54. Okay. Which is like a stacked linebacker number.
Yeah, you mentioned that on episode 54. Brian Urlacher and
Teddy Bruschi.
Teddy Bruschi.
There's a ton of 54, 55. Honestly, 56 is pretty. The 50s as a whole are just kind of juice for linebackers.
Yeah.
Once you get into the upper 50s, like 58, 59, there's not as many, but that's when you get more into like the lineman side.
Yeah, and I think because obviously draft picks will only get us to 60 unless we go really far back to when draft was longer. But once we get to 60, I think it'll probably turn into maybe some jersey numbers here and there if people have worn them. And then the other thing I thought of is like game highs, like people's career highs in scoring.
Oh, yeah.
So Kobe will be 81, Wilt will be 100, Michael Jordan will be 69.
Yeah, I like that actually. That's cool.
So hopefully we'll be able to get a name for every episode. But this episode's name was Luis Scola, which one of my favorite. I don't know if it's a nickname, but go ahead.
I've heard it before. Because the second you said it, well, you did it first. I was like serotonin injected when you started doing like it's like the Ricola, but you say Luis Scola.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honestly, if I was like, what are those people called? Like the announcers at games that just say, like, they yell into the mic after a basket is made, for the arena sound. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about at all.
Mm-hmm.
But like if I had that job, that's the sound I would make after every time Luis Scola scored a basket or something like that.
Like with Tyler here, you played Bonnie Tyler's hit song "I Need a Hero."
Yeah,
every time
thing.
he hit a three.
Yeah,
just or just the
front to
like
back.
His intro, just like you get like a trap remix of the dun 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 dun, and then like that'd be pretty cool. That's the intro piano for "I Need a Hero" by Bonnie Tyler. If people didn't know, but Also, so, apparently, Jimmy Butler immediately reacted to Dame news saying, "Yo NBA, y'all need to look into the Bucks for tampering." I'm just gonna put that out there.
That's funny.
It was also Jimmy Butler, like in a very like not like legit thing. I'm sure he's bummed, but if there was any tampering, it was the entire world knowing he was going to the Heat.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's tampering because it's a trade, but
I think it still would be.
We also
continue.
Damian, okay, we've been whenever we jump into it, there was like I didn't realize that Dame immediately tweeted. Like within like an hour. So we have like his,
I guess bring that up then. What does that say?
Yeah, we can just jump into it then, yeah.
Well, I mean, is that like weird to bring up before I kind of break down the details of the trade?
Oh, no, probably not. It probably fits.
Okay, then go for it.
So like there's people like reacting all over on like what's going on with this. But Dame, who is one of my favorite demeanors in the NBA. During the Central episode, I think I said he's my favorite player. Not true. My favorite player is and will always be. I was going to try and think of somebody so random, like so deep cut, it wouldn't even make sense, but I couldn't. So anyway, but Dame's tweet about an hour after the trade was announced. The casuals won't be addressed, but the Trailblazers fans in the city of Portland that I love truly will be, and they will be addressed truthfully. Stay tuned. And then said, excited for my next chapter, ! At Bucks, ticket emoji.
That's like reminds me a lot of the Kevin Durant picture, my next chapter. Do you remember that? When he went to the Warriors?
So yeah, I do actually, because I there was like a world where I thought that he actually almost might have been a Celtic. Like I thought there was a real chance.
Yeah.
So seeing that stupid black and white image of like a senior photo of Kevin Durant leaning against it's like he's like against a bush, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's like my picture in my head. I might be totally wrong, but I see like the beginning of Gladiator, where he's walking through the field of like wheat, and he's brushing his hand against the wheat. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I remember him like leaning against. he's crossing his hands in between two like fern bushes.
Okay.
And then
not the Maximus from Gladiator?
No, not quite the same vibe.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find the original image because I've found one with every single NBA logo except for the Warriors. So I'm trying to find the original one.
Yeah, did it have the logo on there?
I think it did.
Okay, yeah.
You see, now there's one where it's Jay Crowder's face. There's so many of these.
Many memes, yeah, I believe it. Very memeable moment. But yeah, so I guess without further ado, I'll kind of break down what we got going here, why we're recording an episode right now, because we weren't planning on doing this until this happened today. So for those that remember, my adjective that I used for our co-host here, Jacob Roth, today was vindicated. And that was because something major has happened in regards to the topic that every NBA fan and podcast, like us, we've been doing it too, has been talking about this whole summer now, and really has been a talking point the past like 4 years at this point, I feel like. But that is Damian Lillard leaving the city of Portland, leaving behind the Trailblazers franchise that he put on his back for the better part of the past decade at this point.
I would argue almost our entire like genuine, real NBA watching lives.
Like for the most part,
for like there's a couple years at the beginning
where with him and LaMarcus, and I also remember when Dame was drafted too. So
for me at least, Dame is like I started watching right around when Dame was like just starting to be like the guy. Is like when I really started watching.
15 range probably
20. Yeah, no, before 15. I don't even know.
I think 2014-15 was the playoff series where he hit the.
When did he get drafted?
2012. So 2013 was his rookie year.
I started watching when he was a rookie, I guess. because I remember the 2012 Celtics.
Yeah, because he was a multiple year in college guy at Weber State. But yeah, so I guess as a part of a 3-team deal, I don't know if we mentioned that yet, but it was a 3-team deal. He's being shipped as we speak to an Eastern Conference contender, who we've already mentioned, but it's not the Eastern Conference contender that he's been asking for the past several months. For those that don't know, the Miami Heat was the only team on Damian Lillard's list of desired destinations from this trade request. And so the team that he's actually going to is a team that I feel like it's fair to say has had a bit of a rivalry brewing with the Miami Heat over the past several seasons. And that is the Milwaukee Bucks, the home of the 2017 Most Improved Player. I thought it would be funny to list that as his first accolade, but 2-time league MVP, 1-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2021
the executor of what's that Cavs player or Bulls player that he just like speared as like a second-year player?
Mike Dunleavy?
Mike Dunleavy. He just like, because Mike Dunleavy slapped Michael Carter-Williams.
Yeah,
punched
something
him,
happened.
And then Giannis just like, Dunleavy takes the 3 and then Giannis just like removes him from the television screen.
Yeah.
It was the most football, basketball play I have ever seen.
Yeah.
That's
he's
his
had a few
crowning
moments
achievement.
like that with
him and James Harden have beef.
Yeah.
Is it James Harden? Yeah.
Him and James Harden. But him and Mo Wagner headbutted each other. And yeah, he nailed James Harden in the head. He beamed him in the head with a ball. I don't think that was on purpose, but that was like a pass in the flow of the offense, but it just nailed James Harden right in the face. But yeah, so to continue with his accolades though, he's a 1-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2021 World Champion. I emphasize the world there. And Finals MVP. The man with a pretty convincing claim as the Player of the Decade so far in the 2020s, honestly.
Yeah.
It's either him or Jokic. But
yeah,
for sure. And also, he's Dame's fellow top 75 NBA players of all time, both on that list. And that is the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. And so, obviously, one does not simply trade for Damian Lillard and not give up anything of value. So what they did
Heat almost did. They really tried.
I mean, Tyler Hero has value.
He is, but not like the same, I don't think.
Yeah.
This is a better deal for Portland, and I think that's why they didn't even give Miami a call back. They heard the deal from the Bucks, allegedly, and were like, sounds good, thumbs up, and didn't even give Miami a chance to rebuttal.
Yeah, that kind of surprises me, honestly.
It did me a little bit also, more on the fact that I feel like Portland would want to, like, I feel like they told Dame. They had to have.
What told him what?
That like, hey, Miami's not giving us anything else.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to send you to a good team. You're still going to Milwaukee. You're not going to a pit of despair. Like, are you okay with it, but gave him a heads up? I'm
sure they had conversations about what he was comfortable with. I'm sure he changed his mind on the list of teams and
like privately made a longer list.
I think after the league's warning that they issued to Damon, his agent, for speaking so publicly about making a list of teams and things like that, about how you can't do that, and they were going to reprimand them if they were to continue. I'm sure that's probably why they didn't keep a publicly updated list out there for everybody to know and see. So, yeah, that was probably done behind closed doors. But, yeah, so I guess what they did give up, though, was their second best player from last season, Jrue Holiday, one of the best defensive guards of all time also. But he is getting up there in years. He's aging. He's like 34 now, I want to say. And as well as they also gave up Ted Cruz lookalike, Grayson Allen. And their unprotected first-round pick in 2029 and pick swaps in both 2028 and 2030 with Portland. So it's not a insane. It's obviously worth it. I think this is definitely a worth it deal for the Bucks for sure. They're the winners of this trade, even though they're giving. I mean, and the thing is, they didn't have to give up that much draft capital, which I mean, they don't have a lot of draft capital. To
3 picks, I think. No, it's only one pick truly gone, and the rest of them are swaps. Depending on how the future goes, maybe that's good for them. Probably won't.
Won't be. I mean, it could be, but like at the same time, Portland's probably not going to be like insane in 2028. You know?
Yeah. Well, isn't it the pick swaps where it's only if like Portland would get the better piece?
Yeah, Portland gets the better
The best
of
pick.
whoever has the higher pick. Portland gets
Okay.
that one. Milwaukee gets the other one.
Okay.
So no matter what, Milwaukee, they're both getting a pick.
So they only lost one first round draft selection.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which is huge. And I think it's because the thing that out of this whole trade that like, sorry, you should probably finish like before we start breaking down, like the Suns were also part of this and got scary better.
Yeah.
But
I'll put that in here as well. So we have the aforementioned third team, which was the Phoenix Suns. So they finally got to ship off their disgruntled yet talented young center in DeAndre Ayton. And fully, also, as well as doing that, they are fully solidifying a rivalry with the Denver Nuggets by acquiring Yusuf Nurkic as their center. So the trade details in full are as follows. We have the Bucks receive Damian Lillard. I think that's it.
That's all the Bucks got, from what I know.
Portland receives Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, and Toumani Camara, who I've never heard of, but is a European player from the Suns.
And then 3 picks.
Yeah, they get an unprotected first into 2029 from the Bucks, as well as those swaps in 2028 and 2030. And then the Suns receive Yusuf Nurkic, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson from Portland, and then they get Grayson Allen from Milwaukee. So I guess where do you want to start? Where do you think makes the most sense to give our reactions to how we feel like each team came away?
Obviously, the headline was like, Dame's going to Milwaukee. But then the second I looked at the trade itself, I was like, the Suns are spooky. They got rid of the guy that didn't want to be there and like built a bench. They just said, okay, we'll be the third team, build us a bench for our crazy starting lineup. And like they just got it. Like, because some of these guys were just like in Portland tucked away, like Nasir Little's a good basketball player.
Yeah, I think
like he's not like insane, but like in terms of like, oh, this is a guy that'll come in and play 12 minutes, 15 minutes a game.
You can definitely do that. I mean, he's an improvement on what they were doing with Josh Okogie. You know, he's a better version of that. So
it's just the potential of like, oh, the one thing that I really felt like Phoenix had nothing on was like an experienced unit of guys that run on the second unit. Like they just got a bunch of guys that were like kind of around that like got along with their big guys, for lack of a better way to put it. But I feel like when they got everything, I don't think they won the trade because they didn't get Damian Lillard. Like the Bucks, with what they gave up, I think won the trade. I mean, if Bucks they're not favorites in the East, that's delusional. They need to be the favorites in the East rather aggressively. And the only thing that would like change that is if, and we'll talk about Jrue Holiday also. There's so many things to boil down in this one, but like, what did you think when you saw what the Suns got? I felt like this made the Suns a lot better. Like, as from a Nuggets fan perspective, you probably still felt comfortable top. Did this like shake the fact that the Suns are probably like even closer than they already were? Because they were working their way closer with all the, obviously you pick up that many like much firepower, you're going to be a better team.
Yeah, I honestly, my initial reaction to it, I'm trying to see like the world that they're like, it's a vast improvement, but I'm not saying that they got worse necessarily, but I feel like it's probably a lateral move ish. Because I mean, it's definitely a downgrade from Ayton to Nurkic.
Yes,
and
for sure.
Then they're adding. I mean, they add a little bit of depth, but like none of the guys that they added outside of, I mean, all of the guys that they've added, like none of them are. They're like solid, like are without question their fourth best player. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
you know, they're like Eric Gordon. You could argue is better than anything that they got. I mean, it's just more rotation pieces, which is good. I'm not saying that it's not a positive.
I just think it thinks the volume. They have a bunch of guys that could be a part of an NBA lineup or an NBA rotation.
Yeah.
Before that, you had guys that were like on the fringe of even being part of a lot of teams' rotations because they were so top heavy.
Yeah. I think that they've kind of they've just
Like losing
improved those pieces that they were having to cycle through in the playoffs to see which guy sticks in the rotation. They have better versions of those players now.
And I guess I just feel like if you were going to run into since he's gone, and it seemed like they were going to run into some sort of issue with DeAndre Ayton to flip him.
Who knows? I don't know why. I mean, they must have known something. I'm not going to disparage the Suns for, like, I don't know. Maybe DeAndre was just like, even though there's a new coaching regime in here, a new owner, all the people that wronged me in the past are out the door.
Or maybe he felt like his teammates that were there didn't like stand up for him or didn't have his back enough with that older, like whatever it was.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were almost to an impasse.
Yeah. Yeah. I had some hope about it because I heard apparently Frank Vogel, his first day there with the Suns, the first thing he did was go to DeAndre Ayton and tell him like, hey, things aren't the same. This isn't, it's not the same as it was with Monty Williams. Like this is a new relationship. Let's start this over, basically, which I thought was a good sign. But I guess turns out they were still thinking about shopping him, or maybe he was still adamant about wanting to be gone. Either one. So not sure which side of that was the case, but I do think that Jusuf Nurkic is at this point a very overrated basketball player. He's just, I mean, he's really big, and that's about it.
I think one of the biggest issues also one thing that I did realize was like, this makes the Suns way worse at dealing with what they have to beat. Like losing Ayton makes you objectively worse against the Bucks. It makes you objectively worse against the Sixers. If that Nuggets somehow happens in the East, it makes you objectively worse against the Nuggets. And if AD is on a rampage, it makes you objectively worse against the Lakers. So like these like big dogs at the top that you're like going to have to like face when it comes to crunch time, be in these 7-game series with, Ayton was like, in terms of a one guy to like deal with all of those issues, there wasn't really a better guy than Ayton out there. Like for what you were paying, like they weren't paying him insane. They were paying him good money, but not like break the bank, restructure your entire team around him. They did that with all their other players. So that's the one thing where I was like, okay, I just feel like, and I've said it already, but the way that the depth has like become like just bumped up a little bit. I feel like for this Phoenix team, that could be a lot. That could mean a lot, having a smaller drop off from this like virtually an all-star team as your starting five to like doo-doo coming off and none of the guys that were on their bench were doo-doo. They were all just guys that took way less money or were doing a prove it type of deal, or an Eric Gordon. I'm not really sure why Eric Gordon did it other than to be like a part of the thing. Unless Eric Gordon's buddies with people I don't know he's buddies with, which would be fine, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just was – that was the most interesting part of the offseason for the Suns for me. But focusing on the trade, I feel like they got better from it. Maybe it's not as big of a jump as I initially thought, because I didn't really take it to the negative side when I was really thinking about it until now, of like they're just worst against the best teams in basketball because of the trade.
And most teams, especially defensively. It's just Jusuf Nurkic cannot you put him in the pick and roll. Like Ayton is really good at defending the pick and roll. That he's very underrated at,
and that is what is running amok across the NBA.
That is the play every team runs about,
and it's going to be running amok even worse in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure
if Jokic and Murray were going to be tested on what's a better pick and roll duo, it might have just been built in Milwaukee. And it would. I mean, it took a lot. It took one at least top 3 guy in the NBA and a fringe top 10 guy to do it. But
we'll see if Dame's never really had a lob threat roller before, but we'll see.
I just feel like he can, and maybe that's just giving too much credit to Dame. But I just feel like he can. Like I don't think it'll take him too long to figure out. Like, wait, I just throw it up like within 5 foot of this guy's hand, and he'll just get it somehow.
Yeah, see, that's something I never really thought about until whatever season when was Mike Conley's first year on the Jazz? It's probably like 4 years ago now, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But his first year on the Jazz, Mike Conley had a really bad first year there, like really bad slump. And the whole narrative around it was like all the people with the Jazz at the time were saying this, what was like the main reason for it was his chemistry with Gobert in the pick and roll. Cause all those years in Memphis, he had Marc Gasol as a roller and Zebo at times too. But both those guys are short roll guys. So like they catch the ball around the free throw line. And a lot of times they'll either play make to the dunker spots or, use a post move basically to score type of thing. Gobert is like, he is a downhill running towards the rim, jumps in the air, lob to throw it in. I never really thought that would cause that much difficulty, but if it caused a whole season of like struggling from like what I think is a very, very high IQ, smart, heady point guard in Mike Conley, I could definitely see it taking some time to get used to for somebody like Damian Lillard, who is not, he's not a bad playmaker by any means. I'd say he's actually a pretty good playmaker, but that's not, as far as his strengths, it's not like one of the main top ones, It's a little, probably like fourth or fifth on the list, something like that. So we'll see how that works out. But obviously the scoring threat of Damon in the pick and roll with Giannis will be enough to cause some mayhem for defenses trying to guard that. And it does scare me from an Eastern Conference like not rival, but, somebody to challenge us in the final series. Definitely scares me from that standpoint. But I am glad that I don't think the Suns took a huge leap up or anybody in the Western Conference really benefited from this unless somebody does, which we'll talk about here in a second. If another team in the Western Conference does cash in on the aftermath of this move, what it lines up. But so, yeah, I didn't love it for the Suns. For the Bucks, huge win. This is a massive W.
I think it is a massive W that could have a slithering little snaky snake if this goes terribly with Jrue Holiday being gone. I don't think it's likely, but I think there's a chance.
What would go terribly?
That just like not having Jrue, maybe he was more important of a glue guy than I intended. I have a child that's going menace mode on me. Hold on. So I'll just kind of reset my Jrue. The Jrue Holiday thing, I feel like the defense that he provided and kind of like, what if he was more important to the glue than we thought? And if Chris Middleton is still struggling, I think, and people are going to say, well, he's just a Celtic. This should make them the favorites in the East by a wide margin. I'm not saying it shouldn't. I think I opened the episode saying something to those lines.
You're just playing devil's advocate.
I just want, is there a chance where, losing Jrue is a big deal?
If there is a, negative possibility,
that would be it.
That would be it, for sure.
And because Dame is not this defensive, fortress of, lock it down.
He's a liability on the defensive end.
And so, I just don't know. We've seen teams in the past try to go. Granted, no other team had Giannis to try to do this. A bunch of offense.
The Bucks are a defensive powerhouse. Even without Jrue, they're still going to be a very good defensive team.
They're going to be, and it'll just in playoffs when the defense intricacies really start to show.
Yeah.
So it'll be. I think this is good. This is good for basketball. I think it's good for Giannis stumbling his way into the Mount Rushmore of basketball legends. Having
Bucks fans, I'm sure, are ecstatic,
and they should be. This is
not just because they got Dame, but
this bumps the watchability score aggressively.
Yes, we need to revisit that. Not the watchability score, but our predictions for them.
Yeah,
but no, Bucks fans are ecstatic not just because they got Dame, but because getting Dame also probably means that Giannis, his future with the Bucks is much more safe.
Yeah,
it's much more
because I think
certain.
Yeah, well, because he came out with that quote that was I just want to go where I can make memories and win championships wherever I can go to do that. And you're New York's down the road. They're you take Julius Randle and
down the road as in halfway across the nation.
Halfway, it's a third of the way. Whatever.
We'll
pull the map and we'll do miles. Whatever it is, they're just down the road in the east. Go take the Erie Canal and you'll be there. I know that's more
Erie
Michigan,
Canal. Does that go through the Great Lakes?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's a way that they used to barge freight.
Do they go? So they go from the lakes to the Atlantic? Or
It
is
goes to
it?
New York at least.
Oh, it does. Okay, makes sense. But I guess
It just goes
Erie
from the
Canal
Hudson
probably
River to
goes-
Lake Erie.
Okay, which is a pretty a nice like V cut or a
It
as the
just
crow
cuts
flies.
straight across New York.
Yeah.
Right into Buffalo.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, looking at a map, didn't realize how close Buffalo and Toronto were.
Oh yeah, they're like
So the
30
Buffalo
minutes
Bills
maybe?
are officially Canada's
hour?
team.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely are. Buffalo. I mean, part of Buffalo, I think, like the urban area is across the border in Canada.
Oh yeah, Fort Erie is across the border.
Mhm.
Like I knew that Buffalo was on the border. It was more like it's just like you could like a crow's like a skip a rock across
over to Toronto.
Over to Toronto. But anyway, getting back to this point, Milwaukee and New York aren't that close. You're right. I knew that, but anyway. New York was a team that I thought would be like, they'd throw money at him. And if you just take Julius Randle and be like, sorry, and then put Giannis there, they're terrifying. They're just this menace of just terrifying. And giving Tibbs a Giannis
That would be
just the NBA should run and hide. And
Giannis playing 40 minutes a game.
And loving it. And he'd just be like, yeah. But that's not going to happen now, in all likelihood, because Dame has a lot of years left. Maybe not at being the level that Dame is at now, but they're paying him for a while. So, like, that would, because Giannis has got one more year. Like, he's got this year and then a player option, I think.
I think so.
So, like, I feel like this trade solidified. They get him to buy in on the player option at the minimum.
Yeah.
Like at the bare minimum, he's going to pick.
It definitely extends their window for sure.
Because the window for the Bucks was never because of Giannis running out of time. It was the aging rest of the cast.
Yeah, and to correct ourselves, he has this year, next year is fully guaranteed. The year after that, so 2026 season is player option.
Okay, so he has like 2 seasons he has to play, and then the player. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just 1 year off. I feel better about that than previous. But anyway, I don't know. I think that obviously this is a good thing, but I just think that Jrue Holiday would be the only way where it ends up like this could be bad. Like this could end up the same exact way that I think the Celtics move, because obviously got to bring up the Celtics, what I do. Losing Marcus Smart could like look better in the regular season, but postseason it hurts because you don't have that like just gritty point guard guy that plays good defense. Jrue Holiday is not Marcus Smart, but some of the things they do are similar.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like I mean, they're just that gritty can kind of switch to anybody because they've got Jrue Holiday is usually bigger, but than Marcus Smart is, but like they both can hold their own against bigger bodies if they needed to.
Yeah.
You just lose that defensive switchability, which is like a huge part of NBA defenses now. So
yeah, I know. One of the most perfect player to player comparisons you can probably make is Marcus Smart to Jrue Holiday. Like obviously, if you deep dive into it, there's definitely differences, but like
offensively is where you find the differences. It's not really on the defensive side of the ball. They both are just kind of all timers on the defensive side. So, what was the thing that you thought like? Was there any downsides? Was it just the Jrue Holiday, or was there any like?
Honestly,
other pieces? Do you feel like the Grayson Allen grit is going to be missed?
No, not really. not when you have Damian Lillard, I guess, is the big thing. I didn't really see any negatives for the Bucks in this. The only ones I questioned a little bit was the Suns and the Blazers, because the Blazers, if they can move Jrue, if they can now, since they got Jrue, flip him to gain more assets, that's where I would see the appeal of making this deal. Didn't mean to rhyme there, but because, the Heat deal that we've all been talking about, making fun of, saying is not enough, I feel like that's pretty comparable to the deal that they got, especially if Jrue's not moved for something like pretty substantial in terms of like at least like one more first round pick and a young player, maybe something like that. If they don't get that, then I'd say this is definitely worse than what they could have had with Tyler Hero, a handful of other young players, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic, and then all the picks that he has, Like I get that it's probably not. I feel like that was overplayed a little bit as like a terrible return. It's not ideal for the Blazers. The Blazers, you would think would probably wait for more.
But the thing is that Dame was like, well, that's where I'm going. Make it work. And then like the Heat were like, the best we can do is you have your thing that's worth $1. We have 86 cents.
Yeah.
And we can physically not give you more than 86 cents. Or Pat Riley's like, I'm not going to give you more than that. Sorry. And I feel like if they do get and I think the only team that Jrue Holiday, the type of team, and I don't know if I have a team specifically, I know that you thought about it more than I did, but like it would have to be a team that's willing to overpay a little bit because Jrue Holiday was like, I'm done after this contract. So it has to be a team that's like, we're going to take these 2 years left of Jrue Holiday and we're going to go genuinely compete for 2 finals. That's the only world that you give up what the Blazers probably want, whether it's like a first and a really good asset or a first and a bazillion seconds to kind of be the glue for deals in the future, whatever way they do it. Yeah. So like, what are some of the places that you thought about for Jrue Holiday?
Well, so the first one that came to mind, which was brought up by our friend Anthony in our text chain, he brought up his team, the Sixers, and this would be a homecoming. Obviously, that's where Jrue Holiday started his career. But I feel like, obviously, with the James Harden situation, their deals are nearly identical. Drew's making a tiny bit more, but those would swap 1-to-1. But obviously, Portland probably doesn't want to take James Harden in return when they're giving up. It's like another lateral move.
Yeah.
In terms of what's the priority for them, which is getting younger and
getting assets rebuilding. And getting bad, letting their guys that are young play to get good eventually.
Yeah.
Also, everyone listening, quick plug: Sam Presti is the GOAT.
I didn't listen to that video yet, but
I want to do a full TikTok breakdown of Sam Presti giving a basketball theory. GM Theory 101 class. It's a 5-minute long clip. It's so good. It is juice. Anyway, sorry, I thought of that. You can cut that out if you want. That was so good.
We can
the Presti clip.
I'll probably listen to it and maybe we'll talk. We'll revisit it next episode. I'll make a note. But we haven't done we did do the Thunder already for predictions. But as we were talking about,
sorry, I cut you off. We were talking
James
about
Harden.
James Harden. The Trailblazers want young assets and picks, so their assets that they have promise, can play and like be bad, but like learn and get better, and then go from there. As opposed to like getting a James Harden to just be like, I'm gonna be me and keep shooting and take away from potential opportunities for their younger assets that just need to grow, that have a lot of promise, that they just drafted or have drafted in past years.
Yeah, or are picking up in deals. Yeah, so I think obviously a third team would probably be needed to be included in that deal to make it work with the Sixers and the Blazers. So I went on the trade machine on ESPN. I have that tab closed now for some reason. But I mocked up a trade where I sent Jrue Holiday back to Philly. I sent James Harden to his desired location, which is Los Angeles, to the Clippers. And then I sent from the Clippers, I had Norman Powell because he makes $18 million a year. We need to get to the magic number of about the mid-30s. So Norman Powell makes 18. Terrence Mann is a nice young piece. He makes 10.6. Then there's Amir Coffey, another young player, makes 3.7. Then Bones Highland, the fourth young player, makes 2.3. So that gets us to about 35 mil, and that would make the salaries match. So obviously there's probably some more, that won't be the final rosters entering the year because 4 players are leaving the Clippers and they're only getting 1. But I think that everybody will probably come away happy in a deal like that because, and obviously I didn't mention, but picks will be included in some way from Philly,
to make the
from Philly, probably
from both.
Maybe from both. Maybe like one first rounder from the Clippers and one first rounder from the Sixers, both going to Portland, and maybe one. So I don't know if Philly gets a first rounder. That might work too. Maybe Philly gets the Clippers first rounder, and Portland gets the Sixers won. Wow, I could
If
not think
any
of words.
GM will milk James Harden for value, it is the man in power in Philadelphia.
Yeah, picks aren't really what the Sixers need, but it's
Daryl Morey will get it just because he can.
Yeah,
or he'll try to at the bare minimum. And this could be something that we don't see happen. Like you'd like to think it would happen before the season, but with the way that Daryl Morey does things, it could be like we'll just say.
Yeah, I could see Daryl Morey saying that this isn't enough.
Let's just make him hurt and have to deal with Jrue Holiday just sitting there in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even if they want him. Like, because who's ever going to get Jrue Holiday, if the Portland Trailblazers are going to get the value they probably want, it has to be a team that Jrue Holiday makes them an instant, like, contender or favorite.
Which I think that he does for the Sixers.
It would for the Sixers. Yeah. And then there's the other thing
James
is like
Harden is a 0 for them right now. At least we assume.
Then you get into the whole thing of Morey knows that he's bidding against himself, kind of in a way. So then does he just be like, I'll give you a second rounder?
Yeah.
And they'll have to make the money work, obviously, so they can't do straight up that. But I think that's the three teams that made the most sense, and players end up the happiest. Not that GMs always care about that, but I think that sets up a lot of like interest. And then like, does Kawhi like that happening? Does Kawhi go crazy and be like, "Ha ha, I want out" or something? I don't know. I don't think so, but. This is dominoing like we all kind of thought or knew it would, that like whatever happened would send ripples, not maybe in players moving ripples like it actually is going to end up doing, but yeah. But do you think that the Trailblazers feel good if they get one more first?
Oh yeah, that would be good. One more first, and I'd say like one player that is below 25 or 26, at least around the age.
Like
of
if they get like a
DeAndre
Bones Highland and a pick.
Yeah, I think that would be. I mean, it's like
you always lose when you give up the biggest piece. Always. 99% of the time, if you're the one that has the biggest dog in the fight.
I don't know how much Jrue Holiday is really worth right now. It's like,
and
like
they
you
probably
said,
don't want Bones Highland either. I was just thinking about like all the guys they have out of all the group, like people they'd want.
But he's not a guy that's like. He's not a guy that they're paying a lot of money that they need, that has like a guaranteed role. You know what I mean? He's just kind of like, if he works out,
just a piece.
Out. Yeah. Like Tyler Hero is a little bit like, you need to commit a little bit more to Tyler Hero because of the contract that he's on and what he is expecting from a role standpoint when he comes into a team versus bringing on Bones Highland, which I guess Bones Highland might also expect a similar role, but that's where that comparison ends. They're not making close to the same type of money, not looked at as the same value league-wide. As we saw how the Nuggets gave Bones Highland up for 2 second-round picks at the deadline. So that was it. No salary, no other player, just 2 second-round picks, which I'm still a little upset about. But I will get over it. And so, yeah, that's why I feel like the Sixers are the team that would happen with. I honestly, looking at every other team in the NBA, just like scrolling through, not another team jumps out to me as a team.
Celtics fans were like, "Oh, I'd rather have 32-year-old Jrue Holiday than Malcolm Brogdon."
That's exactly the team that I was going to bring up next, was the Celtics, because that's the closest team that I can see to.
And the other thing is nobody listens to Brad Stevens at all, apparently, on Celtics social media, because there was like, if Brad knew this was happening, he would not have traded for KP. Okay? Listen to Brad Stevens do one interview. Because I love Marcus Smart, but everybody thinks that you can like put Marcus Smart on Damian Lillard and Damian Lillard just gets like turned off like a faucet. But that's like not how basketball works.
They have Derek White. Derek White is like probably.
I know.
I think from here on out, Derek White is like at least the same level of defender as Marcus Smart.
I know, but like that's why I don't usually bring up Celtics Reddit takes. Yeah, because they're really bad. Like they're really, really bad. And they're almost more funny. Like they're comedic relief for me. Because like if I trust Brad Stevens to like cook, like he's cooked just fine. The pot of gumbo he's swirling up, fine by me. It's I mean, it hurts. Like a guy that like you've been a fan of for forever is gone. Yeah, it makes you want to cry. But when Banner 18's in the rafters, I don't care.
Yeah, and he probably got off of him right before
the perfect time.
Yeah.
Unless we have a Tony Allen where he goes to Memphis and has this career,
the second half of his career there,
and just turns into this animal.
Yeah.
And then comes back and just like laughs at us once a year. I hope that I will cry and be sad, but I hope that happens for Marcus Smart. Mm-hmm. Like I want him to have a second hurrah. But anyway, but like Celtics was a team, and then I also heard like another team that like they're like Heat ?
I thought about that too.
Like to get Kyle Lowry for your money piece to be the third team.
Mm-hmm.
To try to make things, but
that
they don't
just
have
kind of cascades the Portland thing where they're like they're cashing in, they're like flipping at somebody for another guy they need to flip again with Kyle Lowry. So maybe.
No, I don't think. I'm just saying like other teams that got thrown out there that like more so people can hear you be like, no, this doesn't work because with this team for other, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Like other contending teams, the Knicks, they don't need Jrue Holiday. With what they have, Jrue Holiday's not like, oh yeah, this will fix all of the problems we've had.
No, but I mean, he would improve it, but I don't see a massive.
Jrue Holiday's still a good enough player that he improves just about
a lot of teams.
He helps a lot of teams. It's just if it's worth the price tag that Portland's probably going to have, knowing to get like the haul they wanted for Dame. And that'll just be a thing to remember. And honestly, maybe all it'll take is two teams being genuinely interested to get for Portland to get what they want, because then they're not just like, this is what we want. This team won't pay it. We have to meet them in the middle. It'll be like two teams bidding each other out, which could be who knows what teams are. But I think that the Philly one makes the most sense. I think the Philly one also is the one that makes the biggest leap for the team that gets Jrue. I think.
Oh yeah,
Philly.
For sure.
Yeah, they're like you add Jrue to Miami or Boston, they like get better, but they don't get like the same jump that Philly makes.
Those other teams have to give up something that is contributing to them right now.
And is content. The pieces are probably, unless it's Malcolm Brogdon, but apparently the Celtics and Malcolm Brogdon have figured it out. But Malcolm Brogdon is not enough to be Jrue Holiday. That's not how that works, unfortunately.
Not enough to be Jrue Holiday.
Like you would have to add a lot more.
Probably, I mean, a pick,
money
or two would probably be enough, honestly.
A pick or two, and then the money to match.
Yeah, you would need a little bit more money.
Because you need 10 million more, I think.
Yeah, ish, probably like 12. But I mean, once you get to the 32 range, because he makes 36.9, I think Jrue does. So it depends on the team, obviously, because of how close they are to the cap. But
and that's the other thing that makes this even more like, okay, if they can't move him, they can't just buy out Jrue Holiday. Because he can't go sign for a good team then because of the new CBA rules. Like in terms of it's just they've put themselves in another sticky wicket to get out of the one that they were in.
Who did? Portland?
The Trailblazers.
Okay.
Like they got stuff back, but they put themselves in another like weird, difficult situation.
Yeah. But I feel like at the very worst they could come away with a player and a pick, you know what I mean? And like at the end of the day, that's more than enough, in my opinion. Like it's not when you're entering a rebuild, it's not like that. Like as long as you're getting a little bit of that stuff, that's what you want. And you know what I mean?
Al Horford or Robert Williams III and Malcolm Brogdon, # not worth it. Money wise, those are the only guys on the Celtics that would make it work.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying not worth it for the Celtics? Or?
No.
Okay.
There's not a world where you like take, I'll call it a half step, maybe a full step from what Derek White does to Jrue Holiday for like only 2 years. Mm-hmm. Then like if Robert Williams stays healthy, he's your center of the future.
Yeah.
Or like of the continuous, it's not the future. He's not like
that might be wishful thinking, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I guess I'm not his doctor, but
well, I just know that this is the first off season that he's been able to actually get in work, and he's got a midi. Everybody's showing his 3-point shots because those go in, but if you give me enough time in a gym and a camera, I can put together a 3-point, like a couple
Exactly.
3-pointers in a row.
Yeah.
And Robert Williams III is a significantly better basketball player than I will.
Every NBA player in an open gym can look like a good shooter.
Yep.
Even Dwight Howard. He did multiple times.
I don't know if Shaq can. I don't know if I've ever seen Shaq just line it up in a gym.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe on a very good day. But
okay, so getting back to the Dame thing, because we're kind of, this will be a full episode on its own probably. We won't even look. We won't give more Miami Heat talk because that's the other piece of this. But we'll touch on that in the next episode because if memory serves, the Southeast Division is what is the next division for us to break down. This was a bit of an emergency episode. Mm-hmm. Any piece of this that we didn't touch on, I feel like we kind of hit most of the bases. Where Jrue Holiday would be. We saw the Suns, how they are, I think, a little up. You think Lev like a pretty even with what they lost and gained. Portland just gave themselves more trades to have to make to get value, but they took a step in the right direction rather than just having Dame sit there and get older.
I think it was good. It was better than nothing. Better than not making a deal, I guess, from Portland's side, for sure. I guess the only other thing we could probably look at is I think we could probably revisit the Bucks line. See if that changed on FanDuel today, maybe. Wouldn't be surprised. But I believe I went – did we use our stayaways? I used a stay away, I think.
On the Bucks?
You might have as well. Yeah. You might have gone under.
I think I probably did go under.
What episode
like
would
with
that
Chris
been?
Middleton, everyone's getting older. You don't know if he's back. And I feel like their line was like a mid-50s, wasn't it? Oh, and I
54 and a half.
And I was like, I remember the big reason is Budenholzer makes this team win way more games in the regular season than they not should. They're a good basketball team, but.
Yeah. So the Bucks, what we had the line at was 53 and a half. We both used our stayaways actually for the Bucks.
I did not go under. I knew I was leaning under, but I probably just didn't feel good about the rest of them.
Yeah, I think you changed your mind. I think because you used the stay away on somebody else at first, maybe. I think you used it on the Bulls, honestly, at first, and then you changed it.
You can catch all this in episodes at 53 because it was
53.
Artist Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
So check out the previous conversation. The Bucks becomes a little bit irrelevant at this point, but the rest of it still stands true. But what is the new line for the Milwaukee Bucks? Have they changed it, shifted it yet?
Yes, they have. It is now at 55 and a half.
I still stay away.
You do?
Or go over.
I don't feel like this, honestly, we need to even go back to it, to be honest. Just we'll change the line to 55 in the notes, and we're both going to use a stay away.
I think I would still want to use a stay away because, like, there's just a world where Dame doesn't figure out the pick and roll. He will. I don't know why I'm even throwing that out there. I'm just trying to be like,
coach, maybe some injuries.
Yeah. I don't think this is a roster that's poised to go for an NBA record of wins in a regular season. So I'll stick with my stay away.
Yeah, I will as well. And yeah, so
that 55, that would still put him as the 1 seed in the East now, wouldn't it?
56 wins, probably. Yeah.
Because I can't remember what the Celtics line was.
Oh, number 1 seed in terms of the line. The Celtics, I believe, was 53 and a half, maybe 54.
So yeah.
54 and a half.
So they are, but 55 and a half definitively makes them the one seed in the East.
Yeah, the Celtics line is still 54 and a half.
Which that one should not have moved. I think that's good because these teams will probably still split the season series.
Mm-hmm. And they'll play each other 3 times, right? Probably.
I always get confused. The NBA scheduling is so much more of a mystery to me than
4 in division, 3 in conference, 2 NBA, 2 opposite conference.
So you just get a home and away with the rest of the NBA. In conference, it just flip flops around.
Yeah, some in conference teams you'll play 4 times instead of 3. Some in divisions you'll play 5 instead of 4. Just like that, those ones, the extra games are completely random. But at minimum, you play 4 in division, 3 in conference, and 2 everybody else. And then there's a handful of other games that were sprinkled throughout.
Well, like if you've got I feel like there'd be what's an example? Like Cavs Warriors could have played each other 3 times in the regular season.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And nobody would have complained.
They probably
They
did,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is...
Nuggets and Suns are probably going to play each other 4 times, even though we're not in the same division. So, yeah.
Lakers will probably play the Nuggets 4 times, even though it doesn't make sense. I guess we would already know, wouldn't we? Because schedules are released. We
would. I just don't memorize. I don't know
I don't either. I just know time, like days, like a game. I'm going to be watching that game actively. Anyway,
I honestly don't even keep track of that usually. I just know
the Marcus Smart one.
When I on the day that it is, if I'll look at my phone, like what games are on today, kind of thing, and then
also always check when the Celtics are in Denver, so I can go watch them.
We can go see them. We need to do that this year as well. But yeah, last thing I guess we could probably touch on before we get out of here, just harp on really quick. It's something we glossed over. The Suns being solidified as like the Nuggets rivals, because honestly that I feel like that's really happened now with this getting Yusuf Nurkic, because that's like the first, I don't know, it feels like one of the Nuggets bosses in a way that we've had to defeat, you know. It's like that was like the first that's kind of like when Jokic became Jokic,
was winning that one.
Yeah, because we had to have that fight amongst the Nuggets fandom of who we were going to keep between Nurkic and Jokic. There was a lot of drama that ended that whole thing. Not really between them. They've stayed pretty close friends, but like everybody else. And yeah, so now, and a lot of Nuggets fans have just not loved Nurkic. Also, Nurkic is just like, if you follow him on Twitter, he's almost like I don't know. It's a
modern day Bill Laimbeer.
Yes. Or what I was going to, I've heard this isn't original for me, but I've heard this comparison before. He's kind of like a Trump in the Twitter sphere. Like the way he tweets, and he has a tweet for like everything. Like as soon as like the rumblings that the Suns might be making a move for Nurkic started, which was a couple days ago now. As soon as that happened, somebody like brought up a tweet from Nurkic when the Bradley Beal trade happened, of Nurkic like making fun of it, or like saying that the Bradley Beal trade isn't gonna, like, he's not a believer in it, basically. Mm-hmm. It's just funny that's like that. I'm pretty sure that's not, at least at the time, like yesterday, that was not deleted.
This is so much better. Do you know what he tweeted when he found he got traded today?
Oh no,
the Suns and 4 guy.
He just like the picture of him. You mean
super excited for my next chapter, and then Suns and 4. And I'm sure the internet will read into that image because it was over the Nuggets, the Suns and 4 guy.
Yeah, of course.
And then it was a big thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Wait, what do you mean read into? You don't think that was intentional?
I just don't. Maybe it was. I don't know.
I think there's a little bit of like he knows to that
the organization, overall, like.
Mm-hmm. That I think he has the Nuggets at least a little bit in mind when he's doing that, making that post. For sure. Because for those who don't know, he's had some like spouts back and forth with Nuggets players and Nuggets fans, like since he's left. It's been a little dramatic, but
which I feel like if I'm him, I'd be like, okay, they chose the right guy. Like, I know I'm like a good basketball player, but I'm not the guy they picked.
Yeah. You would think I don't think he really has had that attitude publicly, at least. Maybe he I'm sure he knows that deep down. But
no, I think every NBA player knows, like, has a confidence that like doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. But then they all like recognize
except for Jokic. Jokic, a quote from Jokic last year was that he every matchup he's in, he feels like he's the worst player. Like he thinks he's
the worst of the two.
Yeah, like he's
like goes up against Franz Wagner. I'm the worst of these. That's delusion. Okay, anyway, I think that'll wrap up today. We won't dive into that juicy Southeast division. It's going to have a whole lot of nothing now, because the only thing that was interesting about it at all, is now playing in Milwaukee. So.
Definitively the worst division in basketball.
For sure now, because I don't even think they have a championship contender now. I don't think Miami can replicate that magic. Mm-hmm. if any coach can, it's Spoelstra, and if any player can like turn into basketball Jesus, it's Jimmy Butler again. But
again, yeah,
again,
who knows how much higher he can take that?
So with that being said,
the human body can only take so much.
That's true. And with that being said, everyone, please go help my brother boy Logan out, and head on over to patreon.com/hoop theory, or buy him a coffee in the description using the Buy Me a Coffee link if you're not into the monthly subscription. Marathon training is going good, and I'd love to share the content with the world, but unless somebody feels the need to support my boy, it won't. It'll just die. And with that being said, there's the end of my mooch session. But it is important. If you're listening on Spotify, give us 5 stars. It helps. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. TikTok, follow, like, if it's in context. And with that being said, Logan, anything you would like to add to the end of the Luis Scola episode?
Nothing other than stay happy, stay healthy, and we will talk to you guys next episode.
Peace!